What's up, guys? This is Kalo, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but we're here for a breaking news surprise episode of The Cutting Board, and I'm joined by John Hansen.
Yeah, what a fucking week in gaming in a bad way. You know what I mean? God damn.
It
Let's
keeps
get
on
into it.
coming. It keeps on coming. I mean,
Yeah.
we had the whole Helldivers thing last week with PlayStation, and then, yeah, was it Tuesday? Tuesday this all went down, and then it just keeps going downhill.
We're just it's like a fucking snowball just going down a hill, and it just keeps getting bigger as it goes. The next month is going to be very interesting on the Xbox side. That is for sure.
That's putting it lightly. So, for those of you who don't know, earlier this week, Xbox closed down 4 different studios, being Arcane Austin, who are behind Prey and Redfall, Tango Gameworks, who are behind Hi-Fi Rush, and of course The Evil Within, and let's not forget Alpha Dog Games and Roundhouse Studios.
Real quick, Roundhouse Studios was not shut down. They were absorbed into the ZeniMax Online studio, so they're helping with ESO. They're still around. They're just not their own thing anymore.
Now, Matt Booty linked all of these cuts to reprioritization of titles and resources, which basically means they're shifting focus to titles and franchises that are big for the brand and that sell and make them money. That line has to go up. That's the phrase I've heard all week. That's all I've heard.
Yep, it's always about growth. It's always about numbers go up. Yep, we've heard Phil Spencer talk about this earlier this year on their town hall meeting when they were talking about exclusives. It's like, oh, as the game industry, we have to see profit, or not. It's not even just profit. We have to see growth and profit. Profit alone isn't enough anymore. All of those times that we've been preaching all these developers and their creativity, and we're gonna give them the resources to do all the things that they want to do. That's not enough anymore. That number has to constantly go up. A game that we have continuously said was a success in every single metric in Hi-Fi Rush. It's just not enough anymore. Shut that shit down.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. But Bloomberg's Jason Schreier put out a report that covers all this insider information he learned. And apparently this is a cost-cutting initiative. But oddly enough, that's not the scariest part to all this. Apparently, there are more cuts incoming. Again, take it for what you will. This is all alleged, but Xbox Game Studios could be that next location. I'm looking at Ninja Theory, 343, Rare, Obsidian, The Coalition, and I don't like saying it, but Double Fine is on the cutting board. Not, pun intended here, but I'm scared.
Yeah. Real quick, to go back to that Jason Schreier report, there was a lot of interesting information, and I highly recommend everyone look him up on Twitter and find that article, because we've been hearing a lot of back and forth things. So one of the things that I've been seeing a lot is Matt Booty was like, yeah, we need to have smaller games that get us rewards and prestige, and everyone's pointing out, that was literally Hi-Fi Rush.
Yep.
What are you doing? You just got rid of easily the most exciting new Xbox IP in probably since Gears of War.
Yeah, and that goes way back.
That's Xbox 360 days. We're talking 17 years, maybe, I think.
Give or take, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Starfield, as good of a game I thought it was, not up there with Halo, Gears.
Hi-Fi Rush was more exciting than Starfield in every single way to me last year. And then that report also states that, the reason that they were shut down is because they were pitching a sequel, and Microsoft thought that it was going to be too much money because they have to cut all these costs for the investors and everything. So we're going to close down this entire studio instead of, I don't know, maybe selling them off, letting them go independent like you just did with Toys for Bob. Like, there were so many other avenues to go than just outright shutting this shit down. It is so fucking aggravating to me that this is how this happened, just out of nowhere.
I guess that kind of leads us into our first little segment here. Your reactions, because there's a lot that has happened. Like you just said, you pretty much covered the whole thing here. But initial reactions here. Tango Gameworks is a studio that exists within that Japanese market. Phil Spencer talks about, we need to branch into the Japanese gaming market. You had a studio right there in the palm of your hand with a hit game, a game that has brought so much positive things to your brand, and you axe it. I can't fathom this.
Yeah, it in every single quantifiable metric, it makes no sense why Tango Gameworks, out of all these studios, were closed down. Like, if you're going to talk about, okay, Roundhouse Studios is a support studio, they only really help with stuff, it makes sense that you would dissolve them and make them join another studio. Okay, yeah, you want them to focus on just Elder Scrolls Online going forward. I can buy that. Okay, I get it. The Alpha Dog games. I never played Mighty Doom myself, but I don't think it's a mobile game that really took off and everything. If you have to cut costs, it sucks, but I would say, okay, I can understand why you would close down Alpha Dog games.
And they got Activision now. They got King right there too, so they can focus on mobile too.
You have all these other mobile outlets now that, okay, I really hate saying it because those workers did everything they could. They didn't deserve to lose their job, but from a business standpoint, I can understand why Alpha Dog was closed down. Arcane Austin, I love Prey, I love Dishonored, I love the whole Arcane line in general. Redfall was a big letdown, and before I go any further with saying, yeah, I can understand why they were shut down. They absolutely did not deserve to be shut down. They deserved another chance to make a comeback. They had a big update for Redfall coming that was supposed to make it offline. Now, when those servers go off, that game will no longer be playable whenever that happens. Like, who knows how much this update that they were working on could have fixed things. But if you're looking at just the last year, where they've been completely silent and Redfall was the disaster it was, you can see how a giant corporation would come to the terms of, yes, we have to close down Arcane Austin. Tango Gameworks absolutely makes no sense. I can't think of a single reason why you cannot put more resources into Tango Gameworks and say, hey, yeah, work on that sequel. I've seen people be like, oh yeah, well, Hi-Fi Rush isn't as small as a game as you think it is because it had like 25 or 50 people working on it. We're talking about fucking Microsoft here. They own Activision. They're working on Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6. Call of Duty has more than 4 companies or development teams working on it every single fucking year. These are hundreds and hundreds of people, and you're telling me that fucking Microsoft, one of the biggest fucking corporations in the world, can't spare the resources to develop a fucking sequel to the most exciting IP they've had in about 17 years. You can't fucking grow that. You can't grow that Japan Tokyo market like you were saying you wanted to do. That was founded by fucking Shinji Mikami. I know he's not there anymore. Maybe it was a little tough finding leadership to get things working there. But you didn't even fucking try. I am not going to hear this argument. Tango Gameworks, out of all of them, did not deserve to go this way at all.
Now, exactly to that point, Shinji Mikami, there was a rumor he left Tango, obviously, and he took a decent amount of the team with him. That was a rumor. I don't know how true that is, but
I've seen that rumor dispelled by some sources. There's a chance that they're wrong, but I've been seeing that that's nothing more than rumors, and it was just Mikami who left.
True or not, at the same time, I don't think that's a big enough reason either. You seen The Evil Within did all right. Hi-Fi Rush was a game developed, or I think he wasn't producing. He wasn't on the project, so to speak, like he normally is. that did great, and now
I
you're
think he
saying
kind of
nah.
just like looked it over and was like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it just proved the team over at Tango can still do this. They can still make great games. Now, I'm looking at all this stuff, and I talked about Double Fine earlier. I look at that as a studio. I love Psychonauts. I love just everything Double Fine does. It's that quirky stuff, the 3D platformers. I'm all about it. I look at that, and then I look at a game coming out in 2 weeks, maybe? I don't know the timing on this.
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Ninja Theory is releasing Hellblade 2. And all of a sudden, you don't see marketing. That's been a whole thing this week, too. But how do you think they feel with this Hellblade 2 game coming out? Admittedly, I'm just going to say it, I don't think it's going to sell as well as Gears, Halo, Call of Duty. And they're going to be sitting there like, oh, like, we're not going to put up those numbers. We kind of know this. And it's a $50 game. They kind of said subvert expectations. It's not a long game either. They're very scared. At least I think I would be.
Every single one of the, I don't know, how many fucking development companies are there under the Xbox umbrella now? Like 25?
Well,
like every single one should be nervous right now. Like the precedent that Xbox has set here is no matter what you do, you are in danger of losing your job. Except for like the Call of Duty teams. But even then, like, there's no room to be creative there. Like all the bullshit that Phil Spencer and everyone has been spouting for years now, but we're gonna offer these studios more resources to be creative. I'm not gonna push back on what they do. Like all of that's out the window now. You cannot trust a single thing that Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, Aaron Greenberg, any of these people have said. As for Hellblade specifically, this game was never gonna compete with something like Halo or Forza, Gears of War. When Xbox acquired Ninja Theory, the Hellblade sequel was merely a Game Pass driver. Like, it was another Hi-Fi Rush. You're not going into this thinking that Hellblade 2 is going to sell consoles. At least that's what they've been saying, and they really shouldn't go in with that expectation. If that is what they're thinking, like, what the fuck is your leadership team up to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hellblade 2, it's like in that perfect Hi-Fi Rush area where it's a smaller game. I expect there to be some improvements from the first game, but I don't really expect it to light the world on fire. Like, you know what you're getting when you go into this game. And as for the advertising thing, I mean, I don't really see advertising for any game these days because I don't watch TV. I don't really go out to movies, so maybe they're advertising them before movies. I mean, maybe you see different game ads and like online ads, but I don't really notice them that much. I don't know. So I get why everyone's so worried about the Hellblade 2 like advertising thing, but like I don't even really think that matters, because if you're a Game Pass subscriber and you see Hellblade 2 on there, if you've been following this game, you've already got that pre-installed. Since it was available to pre-install at the developer direct earlier this year, I've had it ready on my Xbox to go whenever. But Hellblade 2 isn't a game that you're trying to sell to the Minecraft crowd,
No.
for example.
No.
A Halo fan is probably not gonna play Hellblade 2 unless they're into like more general games like we are. So yeah, Hellblade 2 was never gonna be a giant smash hit from a sales standpoint, but it is going to sell significantly worse than the first one, just because you're taking away the PlayStation sales that the first game had. Like, no matter what you did here, Xbox is losing sales because this is only a Xbox console exclusive plus PC, of course. Now, down the road, they'll probably re-release it on PlayStation because, I mean, of what they just did earlier this year with Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, and Grounded. That makes sense. You start the game out as an exclusive and then later on release it on the PlayStation 5 because, oh, the first one was on PS4 and it did very well. There's going to be ways to get your money back there. But the precedent that they've set here by shutting down Tango Gameworks, Ninja Theory and Double Fine, like you said, like, how can you go into work every day and be like, oh yeah, I have job security? Like, no matter where you're at, you could be Tim fucking Schafer, one of the most recognizable names in all of gaming that everyone loves, and you could be like, I don't know if we're gonna be here a year from now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is terrifying, and it's not a way to fucking manage your business. It's not a way to work. It's not a
No.
good situation all around.
I'm just looking at this all, and I wanted to touch on Redfall again real quick. Maybe the writing was on the walls there, because leading up to launch, whenever uh, Xbox leadership went down to Arcane Austin to talk about this game, there were rumors that leadership and the development team didn't really see eye to eye on this game. There were some things with production going on. Maybe it was just meant to be. I don't want to really say it like that, but you get what I'm saying. Now, I guess we can chalk you up. You don't really trust Xbox with anything, really, what they say moving forward, right?
Earlier this year, they laid off 1,900 people across Activision and everything, and other areas of their business. That's the same size of people that lived in my hometown. Like, they literally laid off the amount of people that could fit the town where I grew up in. Like, that is insane to me. And now they just laid off potentially hundreds more to that. Like, and there's more coming.
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we know more cuts are coming. So, like, I can't see a single scenario where no matter what Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Aaron Greenberg, or Matt Booty say within the next month here leading up to the game showcase, like if they have another town hall meeting or whatever, I know Phil Spencer has a live interview with Ryan McCaffrey at the IGN event coming up. Like, there's going to be people in attendance there. Like,
live audience.
What is the reception going to be for that? Like, I would not be shocked if the plans change for that and he doesn't, like, he cancels it or he does a like recorded interview with McCaffrey or something like that. But there's nothing they can say that could like really win my trust back at this moment. And I still play my Xbox like every day because that's where I play Overwatch. I use Game Pass. I love Game Pass. I've talked for years about how much Game Pass is a great deal and everything. But ever since the Activision Blizzard buyout, like, it's just been constantly bad news. Like, this was supposed to be stuff that, like, hey, Microsoft is, I think last year they became the biggest company in the world. Like, they overtook Apple and Amazon, I think. I don't remember. But, like, we were like, okay, we've got Phil Spencer, we've got all these guys. They're saying the right things, and we have faith in them to take care of these development teams that we love. We enjoy their games. We want more of these experiences. They were saying all the right things. But in the 6-7 months since that acquisition went through, it's been nothing but backpedaling. Mm-hmm. Now we're getting to a point where we're talking about, we don't know if Call of Duty's going to be on Game Pass. They're probably going to increase the price of Game Pass to accommodate that kind of stuff. So what does that mean for Elder Scrolls 6 going forward? What does this mean for Halo, Gears of War? What does it mean for everything? Like, everything is so up in the air right now because the leadership has just failed on every single front this year.
Now, speaking of leadership, a question I've seen floated around the internet, and I'm going to ask you. Does this, like, situation signal to something bigger? And should Phil Spencer be relieved of his duties as head of Xbox?
Man, that's tough. The Phil Spencer thing, I like Phil Spencer. I have ever since he took over Xbox. He took Xbox that was in a very dark place during the Xbox One generation.
Oh, yeah.
And he generally, like, turned things around big time. Game Pass has been a massive success. I don't care what you say about the growth not happening right now. Game Pass has been a massive success on every front. It has changed the games industry. For better or worse, the way you look at it. And I generally think that he is... I don't think he's an evil person. I don't think he went out of his way to close down Tango Gameworks or any of these other studios. Like, I do know that some of that has to do with him, though.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we've been waiting. How long ago did he take over? Like 9 years ago now?
I'd say 9 years, almost a decade.
Yeah. So, over the last decade, how many times have you heard our first party portfolio is what we're focusing on and it's going to get better? We've got all these acquisitions. The first party games are on the way. The initiative, we were hearing things about that in like 2017. We haven't seen we've seen a teaser trailer for Perfect Dark, but nothing besides that. But more reports that things still aren't going well for it. You hear all these different things from all these different teams, and it's like the one commonality between all this is Phil Spencer looking over it. So I don't think it's time for him to be ousted yet, but we've had a decade with no payoff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Series X, yeah, great. It made sense to do what they did with the Game Pass and everything. Yeah, those are good wins. But there's a lot of areas that Phil Spencer has just failed in the last decade.
That's been my sentiment too. Like, Phil Spencer took over Xbox One era. We've been there, done that. We know how bad of a place Xbox and Microsoft was in at that point in time. He first had to dig them out of that hole. Then they got into the Xbox One generation where he said himself, they're playing catch up. They can't do it. They lost that generation because the digital libraries, all that stuff. Now, I also look in perspective here. Let's just say a Bobby Kotick or Don Matrick was in charge of Xbox right now. I would argue things would be a whole lot worse.
So much worse. Yes, I 100% agree. Bobby Kotick, I mean, who fucking knows where we would be right now if he was the head of Xbox? Like, maybe only Bethesda development team would be around still, but everything else would be gone there.
Double Fine gone. I'm just saying it there.
Double Fine wouldn't exist. Ninja Theory would be gone. Compulsion would be gone. And Exile would most likely be gone. Like, things, I 100% agree with you on Bobby Kotick. Like, that guy was a fucking plague on this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Don Matrick, that guy was, he up there with just not as bad as Kotick, but not great either. So there's no way you can look at the situation and be like, yeah, Phil's still a good guy. Yeah, he's gonna come out. We're gonna see the light at the end of this tunnel. Like, there's no matter what happens, his overall like public perception of him, which was so high for the last decade, it's been shot. Like, It doesn't matter what he does. Like, you're not gonna hear people talk about, oh yeah, good guy Phil. Oh, I see him in Fallout 76. Let's say hi, let's emote to him. No, now we're seeing, oh, let's nuke his base.
They're nuking his base. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's just, and maybe he doesn't care. Like, he put on this public persona that, yeah, I'm a gamer, I'm one of you guys, love me, and now that everyone realizes, oh wait, this guy is the head of a corporation, like he's a billionaire, like, who the fuck cares? He doesn't care what you or I think. He doesn't care about our lives whatsoever. He's just a talking piece for Microsoft as a whole. Not even just Xbox, but Microsoft, the company.
I think that's the same. I think that's my problem here with Phil Spencer. I'm not looking at the full tree as far as where Team Xbox is. Then there's Microsoft, because I think it's worth noting there is a division there. Xbox is Team Xbox. They answer up to Microsoft, whatever have you. I think Phil Spencer, like you were saying, he is the public face of Xbox. When you think of that, it's much like, what's his name from Nintendo? I'm blanking on it. Fils-Aimé. Yeah, like, those people, you think right away, you go right to them. Same thing with Phil Spencer and Xbox. I think, like you said, whenever Activision Blizzard came in, that was a big deal. That was a huge deal. They spent a lot of money, biggest acquisition, whatever have you, the fights with the FTC, the whole nine. I think that's where Microsoft stepped in over Xbox and said, this is what needs to happen. You need to execute it because we spent this much money and we're all in on gaming. Now you need to produce. Again, we get back to that whole bottom line deal. I think this is the case because it's weird to see Aaron Greenberg, Phil Spencer, and Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, them just go out here and say these things publicly, and then we get this. Like, it's very jarring.
It's so weird because between the Bethesda and the Activision buyouts, it was, what, $78 billion that they spent?
Yeah.
And they're not even giving it time to pay off.
Nope.
Like, it's been months since the Activision deal went through, and we're already closing down studios. Like, you're not giving this a chance to grow and thrive and everything. Like, why did you spend all these years, 4 years or so since the Bethesda thing? You've spent about 4 years preparing for these acquisitions to go through. Just these ones. I'm not even including Double Fine and all the smaller studios that were acquired. But these two giant corporations that you took under your umbrella, why are you surprised that you spent all that money and now you have less money? Like,
it's crazy.
It's insane. That is such a failure across all the heads of Microsoft. Like Satya Nadella,
yeah.
I don't know how you say his name. At the very tippy top of Microsoft. How did you look at this situation and be like, okay, we're going to spend this money? Oh, where'd all our money go? Like,
yep.
How did you come to that conclusion? It's been 6 months. We haven't even gotten to the first Call of Duty yet. That is going to make you billions. Plus all this other stuff that they have in the works. And it just makes me so mad. Like, the head of ZeniMax yesterday in that Jason Schreier article was quoted as saying, yeah, the 9 studios that ZeniMax is overlooking is too much. We have to really cut down.
Mm-hmm.
If we kept going, we're going to topple over. What are you fucking talking about? You knew that when you brought Bethesda in.
Yep.
Like, what is your fucking plan here?
It's so shocking.
No sense. It's so... Like, I get mad at corporations and company business people that try and act the common folk like you and me as like we're dumb, like they're like trying to over explain things like, oh yeah, look over here, but we're actually gonna do this and everything. Like, are you lying about the reasoning here? Because if you are, like, stop fucking insulting me, because this is fucking stupid.
Yep. Now, I'm trying to think, at least for reasoning here, effects on Game Pass. I think the whole point of Game Pass, or at least what they've been telling us lately, is to give these smaller devs, and I'm using air quotes like you did, smaller devs, a platform to exist and work, create games they want to create, and have that creative freedom. Again, games like Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, you name it, those smaller games on Game Pass, they wouldn't exist or they wouldn't thrive without a platform like Game Pass. I think Phil Spencer, one of them, said as much. Like, hey, like, we found success on this platform because of this. And I'm looking at this and people saying IP sells. That's what sells. Familiar stuff sells. This isn't gaming, but I look back to Marvel Phase 4, 5, whatever one they're on. Arguably one of the worst eras in Marvel history as far as TV, movies, and all that goes. It's just proof that familiar stuff doesn't really sell as well as you're saying. Like Halo Infinite. I don't think it did as well as the other Halos. Halo 4, Halo 5. Again, hiccup in the series. But again, they're just kind of pitching you this idea of, hey, your game, whether it's a brand new Spyro, Hellblade 2, or Hi-Fi Rush 2, if it doesn't sell, if it doesn't meet these air quotes metrics that we've pitched out, yeah, you're gone. I can't do this.
In general, the game has changed. For the Halo example, like, you look at Halo Infinite and you can't really compare it to the other Halo games because those games were a single package. $60. Oh, thank you. You might have some DLCs thrown in there. But Halo Infinite was okay, multiplayer is free. You can spend microtransactions, buy battle passes, and all that. If you wanted to, you can buy the campaign, but hey, that's all included in Game Pass. So you really can't compare it. And Jez Corden, like, all this goes back to his Hi-Fi Rush discussion from a year ago on Twitter. He was like, what is how does Xbox measure Game Pass as a success with Hi-Fi Rush? And that's when Aaron Greenberg came in and said, hey, it's exceeded our expectations in every single way. And then they close it down. It's just like, what is the plan here? What are you thinking? Like, what are you seeing that is saying, oh, this game is doing very well for us, or this game isn't doing well? Game Pass in general, the way it is now, I think we're going to see some major changes very soon, like sooner rather than later. Maybe you see them announced around the showcase. And I'm just saying, like, changes that people aren't going to like. I'm talking maybe more tiers, similar to the PS Plus one, just in general, a price increase.
They were just talking about that, right? With Call of Duty. They're like, oh, maybe we're going to put it on. Oh, yeah. And a price hike.
Yep. I don't think we're going to get across the board day one releases on there anymore.
No.
Call of Duty, they're shocked to see that, hey, if you put this game on Game Pass, not as many people are going to buy it. Like, we've only had this model for like 8 years now. There's going to be a lot of changes, I think, this year, whether it's family plan, more tiers, games like Call of Duty, Elder Scrolls, Doom, maybe even Halo and Gears in the future, like those future releases. Like, I could see them not being day one releases. Eventually they'll come there, like maybe like 6 months down the line or something.
Yeah.
Like EA does for their games. But I don't see them doing the full game available day one anymore for every release. Smaller games like Hellblade, Hi-Fi Rush, that makes sense to me, but the way they're operating now, just, it can't be feasible with what they're showing us.
Now, to kind of consolidate everything, because this could go on. I can talk about this for days. You mentioned this June's showcase. Now, I'm just going to ask, do they address this? Do they say something? Like, you also mentioned Phil Spencer's appearance on IGN. I almost think I'm not going to say he owes it to us, or anybody at that point, because he's going to get roasted on that stage. Do you think they just address anything? Or do they just say, hey, like, yeah, here's Gear 6. Here's whatever else we're going to announce. Here's Call of Duty. Bye. Like, we'll see ya.
The game showcase is not where you do that. I think the game showcase is 100% game announcements.
The puff piece.
But we have seen Phil Spencer face the music before. After the Redfall debacle last year, he was on a Kind of Funny interview, like the day of, and as things were going down, and he was answering questions. We had the town hall meeting earlier this year where him, Matt Booty, and Sarah Bond all were answering questions. Obviously, that one was more Microsoft had their hands on it, so they could control the narrative there. With the IGN thing, that's the one that has me the most interested. Like, that is one that I am going to go out of my way to watch.
Yeah.
Because, one, there's going to be a live crowd there, so it's going to be, how do they react to him, to the things he's saying? How does he handle that? I could also see them doing another, like, town hall meeting thing just to address this, because it's getting to a point where, like, I'm not saying it would be, like, scary for him to go out in public and show his face, but no matter what he does, like, at this moment, there's gonna be blowback. Like, it doesn't matter what him, Sarah Bond, Aaron Greenberg, Matt Booty, like, any of those people. Like, I saw, what's his name? Stein the social media manager for Twitter on Xbox, on his personal account, he posted, "Hey, I just booked my flight to the Xbox Game Showcase. I'm so excited." I saw people in there like saying, "Oh, we can't trust you. We can't trust you." Blah blah blah. All this stuff, like stuff that has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Like I can only imagine like the first time any of those figureheads like post something on Twitter or show up in a video, show up in a live event like the IGN thing coming up. Like I think before any of that happens, you have to come out in front of your community and face the music.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, do they? I think they do a town hall. I think that's more of a logical thing to do here. You're in the controlled environment, and then do it before the IGN thing, so that way you have all the facts out there, you've said your piece, and then you can kind of just get asked questions. I also think he's not in the best position, because this is more of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Shouldn't have done it in the first place, but like, at the same time too, you did it, now you gotta live with it, you made your bed, and all of that. It's just weird. This story, we've gotten the Helldivers thing, that was something the community came together, they fixed it, blah blah blah. For what I can remember, maybe you can speak to this more, this is like a big deal, like bigger than most headlines nowadays. And you've covered news for God knows how long. Has there been something like this before? I'm giving you credit. You're a credited journalist in my eyes. But
so,
yeah, have you seen anything like this, like ever before in a way?
We've seen game companies be closed down. It's happened. Layoffs happen, especially this year they happen. The reason why it is such a big deal right now is, one, because the Activision Blizzard acquisition just happened months ago. And two, it's because of the things these Xbox leaders have said over the past 7-8 years about, oh, we're going to support these acquisitions. We're going to let them grow and thrive. We're not going to turn them down. We're not going to do all this stuff. According to the Jason Schreier report, Tango Gameworks was closed down because they were pitching a Hi-Fi Rush 2. It wasn't because they underperformed. It wasn't because of any of these metrics we're talking about. It's because they didn't want to put money towards a sequel. They wouldn't even accept, like, maybe just, like, turn the sequel down a little bit. Like, maybe make a spin-off or something. No, it was, no, we're not going to work with you at all, and you're done. You're gone. Like, they just totally went back on a decade's worth of promises and words and like all this stuff, all this goodwill that they've built up. That is why this is such a big deal. It's been a lot of buildup to, they've been building this mansion. Let's say they've been building it for years. They've been putting all this effort into it, and they've got the public backing. Everyone's watching them put up this mansion. They're like, yes, this looks amazing. I can see where you're going with this. This looks beautiful. And then out of nowhere, they went to the West Wing and blew it all up.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is the forward thinking on this?
That's my problem. Like it's crazy. They did this documentary about, it's called like Power Up or Level Up or something like that.
Power On.
Power On. And in that specific documentary, Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer talked about Lionhead's. Yeah. And they're like, we learned from it, blah, blah, blah. And again, like you said, I think if none of this stuff was said publicly about, oh, the studio is doing great, the game's doing great by all metrics, blah, 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 it would suck up front, because Hi-Fi Rush is a great game, Tango Gameworks, Arcane Austin, all those studios, people have been affected. But again, we wouldn't be sitting here going like, why on earth did you just do this? Like, you're looking at success. You're looking at the thing that can dig you out of the hole and going, nah, we're good. Like, it's fine. Again,
Arcane Austin. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, again, Microsoft is a big friggin' corporation. They got all the money. They don't care. Microsoft can view Xbox, as much as we love games and stuff like that, that's just a drop of water in the much larger bucket they have. Xbox could be gone tomorrow, and they'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, but it's just astounding. Like, sitting here, and I've done my fair share on my channel talking about games for like a year now. I don't think I'm that credible in this field, but in this short time, I've seen where Xbox has been and where they are now, and it's like, whoa, like
they are cratering fast.
Yes, and it's scary.
Short amount of time. Yeah. What I was gonna say about the Arcane Austin thing is the whole thing with the Lionhead situation was Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer, like their words, like this isn't like just reported things, like they are recorded saying these words. It's how can we look at that situation and let it never happen again to one of our future studios. You look at Arcane Austin, who was just like Lionhead Studios, known for their single player games, Prey, Dishonored, and they were pushed into making a game they didn't want to make. There's reports that they did not want to do Redfall. They did not want to do an always online service game. But they went through with it. It didn't do well, and they got closed down. It's the same exact situation.
It's crazy.
You've learned nothing over all these years, is what you're showing us. And it's also showing us that all the talk about, yes, we are Microsoft, we are one of the biggest corporations in the world, we can handle all this extra workload, we know how we're going to handle these companies. You're straight up showing us that you can't already. Like you are not built for this.
And this is something too, like speaking for me at least, I'm a massive Xbox fan. I love Xbox. It's my console of choice. Yeah, and you know, sitting here and seeing all this, for us to be this critical about what they're doing, like, there are some people that can say, hey, like, whatever, like, move on to the next. They got Call of Duty. No, like, this is them looking at future success and everything they've been wanting and needing and all this fun stuff and going, nah, like, we're doing just fine.
Something like this news is devastating for anyone that wants more games in the market, that wants like different kinds of games. If you're a person that only cares about Fortnite and Call of Duty, okay, this was good news to you. Like, that is all you care about. That is all you ever want to play. You never want to see this game industry grow. You want it to stay exactly in its 2012 form. Okay, maybe you come out of this like, okay, I don't care. But for creativity as an art form, as just everything, the precedent set here is very dangerous going forward.
Well, I think before I rant even more about this stuff, we're going to pass it off to you guys, the audience. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? It's been a long one. I'm sure by the time this episode goes up, more stuff will come out. So we're going to cover it here on Game Sandwich. More specifically, we're going to cover it in our Discord, so why don't you join up? We're always talking about video games, talking about this stuff. All that will be in the video description down below. And I think, I forgot to mention this at the top of the episode, just everything, all the love and stuff we have here, we're going to send it out to the people who are affected by these layoffs. It's never a fun thing to see in any industry, so I'm just going to pass it off to you now, John, if you have any closing remarks here.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. Not even just to the 4 studios that were affected this week, but Take-Two had a bunch of close downs last week. We've seen, I think we're at least close to how many layoffs we saw all of last year, and it's May. So it's been a very tough year. It's not going to get better anytime soon, unfortunately, it appears. So yeah, I'm at a loss for words.
All I gotta say is stay tuned come June 9th. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. But I've been Kalo, joined by John Hansen, and we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.